You still haven't left, haven't you? I would have thought by this time you would have stopped pursuing my life and learning more about me. Well, I hate to tell you that I've made a terrible mistake and I'm being given the last hours of my life to write this down. I realize that this is a drastic change from my usual update to my life, but I really don't have much time. I've made an error in my judgment, and now myself and everyone around me are going to pay the price. Here, let me break down everything that has happened since you were gone. I'm in my second year of my first run as President of the United States of America. Yes, I know, it's a massive change from a soon-to-be doctorate, still having yet to graduate from college, and these stories that I write to document my life seem sporadic, almost like a random thought, or a big inconvenience to some. But it's my life, and I want to document it as I like. Or at least, as long as I have my life. Let me dive into further detail. It wasn't long after having graduated college that Avery and I married, and I began my campaign to become a state senator. I had a landslide victory in my senatorial election. I made some daring moves in the Senate to promote better education programs, ones that would let students learn what would benefit them in the real world, which passed successfully in Congress. I also made policies that would help put more regulations on weaponry in states, making it a stricter process for people to obtain weapons, which also successfully passed. And I also made a bill that passed that allowed the legalization of marijuana as a controlled substance within the United States, just like alcohol and tobacco. I even passed an amendment to the law that restricted the age requirement for presidential candidates from 35 to 25. I had just met the right age, just in time. I was pushing more hot-button topics and defeating my opponents left and right as they tried to fight like bastard dogs against my arguments. But the voices helped me make sure that I would win. There was one of my opponents who the voices helped me anger so much that he ended up having a seizure during mid-debate and he died shortly after. I know it's not a pleasant thing, but the voices told me that it was better that he was out of the way. He had plans for running for the Republican nomination during the presidential election that was coming up. I was a Democrat, but he was the kind of Republican that the most radical and forceful of Republican voters would support. I was a controlled opposite. The only reason I stood on the Democrats' side is because I needed the support of a major party, and with the Republican candidate out of the picture, victory was at my doorstep. The voices had helped me to cultivate an image as a new age of independent Democrat, which reminds many people much of another famous Democrat who fought for rather independent ideologies. I wanted to fight for the most pressing issues that were on the table. America's economy was stable, but it would only remain so if I could get the radical people off of my back. This is around the time where I started my campaign. I was prolific in every speech I made. Every point I made to point out inaccuracies, problems that needed to be addressed, and new policies that would benefit not only America but the world as well, brought me great praise. Avery was such a supportive wife, always at my side and pushing me towards the White House. It came down to the final debate between me and the Republican nominee, already having won the Democratic nomination by a landslide. During one of our last debates, I had cornered the issues presented by the Republican nominee to the point where he couldn't help but agree with what I was saying, and growing more and more frustrated until he surrendered the debate. I won the presidential office by 64% to the Republicans' 33%. I had achieved my life goal: to become the president of the most powerful country in the world, and at such a young age. People were able to overlook my dark past and see a bright and just future for us all to live in. That was until about 2 months ago. The voices had been more quiet than usual while I was in office, occasionally making recommendations on which policies or actions should be taken. Their stronger absence was a bit concerning to me. That was until a terrorist attack in San Diego, California, rocked the nation as 208 people were killed in a mass shooting that went across the city. Violence within America was up, and people were ready to fight again. Terrorism was at an all-time low, and an attack like this was committed? there was something missing, something that I had to do. This is when the voices spoke to me.
The violence in your nation is only growing. You need to develop a way to stop this madness now. This nation is under your control, and your people support you. Make a movement to track down all terrorist groups and murder them and their families. Leave no stone unturned. Then declare a war on all radical nations in the Middle East who regularly support the actions carried out by the extremists. Force them out and annihilate them. With them out of the way, we can begin establishing our control over the areas.
Their plan sounded like pure madness. Conducting a war against several nations in an area of the world that is very volatile, where some even have actively maintained nuclear weapons. However, Congress showed a higher amount of support in conducting a war against the nations of the Middle East, as well as terrorist organizations located in those areas. With almost little logical sense or true reasoning besides pure rage and a thirst for vengeance, we launched a war against the powerful nations of the Middle East. Nations like Iran and Afghanistan received a massive amount of fatalities during the war, but for every major nation that was affected, so were American troops. After each failed attempt of the forces to defeat each national government in the area, the populace of America back home grew more and more restless. The nation was in complete chaos and demanded for my impeachment. I wasn't sure what to do. I was panicking. There hadn't been this many American deaths since the Vietnam War. I had thought this new step forward would be good for my nation, but it left me only with numerous failures. I was in my darkest moment. The world saw me as an absolute lunatic. I couldn't take the pressure. During the writing time I set aside for one of my letters to the United Nations, I heard the proposition from the voices, one that I will never forgive myself for taking.
You are not fit for this office. You have abused your power and have created a doomsday event that occurs yearly within your country. You are Because we wanted what was best for you. It was you who became power-hungry and tried to use us for your personal gain, as if we haven't done enough for you already.
What have you done to help me? Huh? What have you done to help me? I threw my papers off of my desk in a fit of rage.
We can fix this. It was our plan to repair this nation, and we can still help. The only problem is you're getting in the way. The only way you will be able to fix your mistake will be to surrender yourself to us. Mind, body, and soul will belong to us.
I found a contract that I kept that served to grant immunity to other people, a presidential pardon, if you will. I quickly scratched out the important parts and began to write in the sentence, I hereby surrender my mind, body, and soul in exchange for the restoration of America. The voices spoke again.
Excellent. All that is left is to sign and to say goodbye to your wife and loved ones before midnight, and we will fulfill our promise for you.
In that moment of haste, I felt a sickening thought enter my head. What if these voices had planned all along to take my soul and have the world to themselves? I was frustrated and desperate to solve the issue at hand. There was a movement across the internet to have me impeached on the grounds of crimes against humanity. I had no other choice. I signed the document, and the document crumbled to dust. The voices now grew more sinister and distorted.
Fantastic! Thank you for surrendering yourself to us.
I began to panic. The voices started to sound less human and more demonic. What are you? I said with a deep sense of dread in my voice.
We are a collective of dark thoughts, emotions, and motives known to the human world by the name of Legion. We are called Legion, for we are many, and we thank you so much for surrendering your soul to us. We are very excited for you to join us soon amongst the damned and suffering.
I fell back against my desk as I saw a horrifying figure emerge in front of me. The image was of a man in a dark suit, all of his clothing being the color of pure darkness. His face was a collection of moving small faces that swirled in what appeared to be a liquid. Tiny screams could be heard as the spirits flowed across his head.
We are a collective of humanity's most powerful and darkest desires, and we have manifested ourselves into the form of a demonic entity. We are as powerful as Lucifer and Satan due to our desire to help humans. We help as many as we can, guiding them to success in their lives. And when they fall upon calamity, we take them as our own. We twist and induce pain in the souls we capture, and we are very successful. Only one man has ever escaped our clutches, but we were given an exchange of pigs, for which we killed them all. You see, we only want human souls, for we hunger for the deepest and most powerful spirits that this world has to offer. Satan craves destruction, and Lucifer craves knowledge. We crave human emotion. We are very excited to have you join us, Rob. Prepare yourself for tonight.
And with that, the figure vanished. I am writing this last part of my story down so that people can know about everything that led up to this point. I want to make this clear. I am not insane. I can see how someone might deduce that, having read my life up to this point, but I'm not. I was tricked by a powerful demon, one who will not be very kind to me after tonight. If you ever begin to hear voices, regardless of whether or not you think you're crazy, seek help. You never know if what you're hearing may be just the voices in your head or something much worse. Don't give in to the voices, because once you do, they will never let you go. We've been enjoying Rob's body for a while from a distance, but now that we are in control of not only him, but of the entire United States, we
can continue our reign over everyone as the new ruler of the human race. Ancient texts have tried to predict the end of the world, but they're all wrong. We would never want to end the world. No! Demons love to watch the suffering and pain of humans, some more than others. We love witnessing the darkest moments in human history and feed off of human emotion. And we are always hungry. Our hunger for human emotions is what has driven us to help and guide humans for centuries. We love to witness the pain of humans, and any humans we are able to convince to join us make us grow much, much stronger. Rob was not a fool. He was a strong human, but not strong enough to win against us. We gave him every opportunity to have us leave him forever, but he was too naive to listen to his reasoning and couldn't resist our power. He saw in us how much power we wield, and he wanted it for himself. What he didn't realize is that we are an army of souls with an enormous amount of power, and we always get what we want. Kicking out Congress will be just our first step towards world domination. The world is full of chaos, and when people are at their darkest moments, they look for the first voice to speak up and offer a solution. Once the rest of the world is at our feet, we will be able to continue our feast on to the far out stretches of the world. The entire world will be our dinner plate, and any dark emotions will be on the menu. The only question left to ask is this: care to join us?
It's in the dustiest books that you may find the best stories.